What's up guys, and welcome to today's video where I want to show you how to determine whether your Facebook ads are actually getting saturated or not. So everyone knows that there is the relevance score, which shows you how well your ads are basically resonating with your audience. But of course it's just a single metric and it doesn't tell you everything, and especially when it comes to saturation, you want to know early on whether something is going wrong and whether you are approaching saturation so that you can prepare and create new campaigns, for example, and twist things and so on and so forth. So right here we are in the ad account from one of my clients, and it's actually one of my only non-e-commerce clients that I have. So the vast majority of my Google Ads and Facebook Ads clients are e-commerce. This one here is actually not, but I still chose it because I think it's a very good example of what I want to show you. And you see here our ad spend was around $3,000. So this one here is around $3,000 in the last 30 days. So not really a huge client, but definitely enough data to show you. So what you want to do is you go to the ad set level instead of the campaign level, and then when it says delivery, you will see that the ad sets here are active and it says initial learning complete. So once the initial learning stage, where Facebook basically is collecting data to determine who to show your ads to and stuff like this, it says initial learning complete. And then you can click on see delivery insights. Now, of course, it's not the only way to get to delivery insights, but you just go ahead here and then you say see delivery insights right here. Or let's actually use a lead ad example. Let's go with, for example, this one here, right? Or this one. We click on delivery insights, and what delivery insights is, it basically shows us the amount of impressions, first time impressions, and the cumulative reach, along with some other metrics that we can check. So first of all, we spent 19 euros and 97 cents in the last 7 days in this particular ad set, and we paid €2.22 per lead. So right here we see for the last 7 days the amount of impressions, and what's very, very interesting, the first time impression ratio. Now I'm not sure whether this ad set here is older than 7 days. Let me actually have a look. I think it is. Right here, let's see. Okay, so the first day of the ad set was the 23rd of August, right? And then what happens is you can go all the way back to when you created this ad set. And here in the 23rd of August, what we see is that the first time impression ratio at this day was 41.03%. So this means that 41.03% of all people who have seen this ad have seen it for the first time, right? And here we have impressions for the single day, but here you also have the cumulative reach, so accumulated and not just for the individual day. And you see already that this first time impression ratio, it is pretty much changing all the time, right? So sometimes sometimes it's very, very clear. It goes pretty much in one direction only. So the first time impression ratio in the beginning is super high, like 90% or something. Then it goes down and down and down and down because you showed your ads to all kind of people, until at some point the first time impression ratio is like 10% or even lower, 5% or something like that. The reason why this one here starts so high already, or relatively, I mean, in many cases, this number is completely different. But we have a very small audience here. We are basically targeting a very specific group of people. And you see here that the first impression ratio in the beginning is 41%, then it's 28, then it's 31. It's basically fluctuating very, very much. And this is what you should have a look at in your campaigns. If you see that there are very, very few people who see your ads for the first time, this is normally an indicator that your frequency is basically increasing too quickly, and that your ads are getting saturated. Because at some point, more and more people see your ad. In the beginning, it's pretty linear, but at some point, very few people see your ads for the first time. So the majority of people have seen your ad before, and at some point, there is a critical point where this is not a bad thing, right? Because people who've seen your ads 2, 3, or 4 times are probably more likely to click and finally buy it because they are somewhat familiar with your business now. But at some point, when you exaggerate it with this, you will realize that your conversions will drop simply simply because at some point it's not very likely that people will still convert. If someone has seen your ad for 20 times, it's not very likely that they will convert the 21st time. And this is why this delivery insights report is so powerful. Here you see the cumulative reach, which obviously goes up all the time because, as the name says, it adds up every single day. But when we now check it with first time impression ratio, we see here that it's fluctuating a lot. But when you see that this is really going in one direction, and this means that it's going down, so that only 5% or so are seeing the ads for the first time, this is normally an indicator that your ads are getting too saturated and that you, for example, need to expand your reach, that you have to create a new ad set and try something new. Or that you have to otherwise change your campaign so that you can reach more people. Of course, as long as your numbers still make sense, right? As long as you still get good conversions, especially at a good CPA, you don't really need to change. But it makes sense that if you see a trend here, that if you see it's getting more and more saturated, that you create an alternative or a second campaign or a second ad set where you target new people, so that you don't wait until the last day when your campaign is not profitable anymore. Then you start with a new one, then you optimize until it's profitable. What we like to do is always to create new campaigns while the old ones are still profitable, so that once they hit saturation, we are there with our new campaigns that make up for the losses. Another very interesting part here, of course, is the cost per result. And we see here, the cost per result of the lead. We can again compare it to the first time impression ratio. And here we see some pretty decent correlation. This goes up and things like that. Nothing too fancy. Here we had a spike, very expensive, but it didn't really correlate with the first time impression ratio at this point. Normally what we see here is that the first time impression ratio goes down over time until it reached like 5%, 10%, and at the same time the cost per result goes up. So normally it's like this, cost per result going up, first time impression ratio going down, and it's very often it's exactly like this. However, in this campaign here, it's kind of a mess, right? It's not a real trend that occurs here, but still very interesting to see how these both metrics stand next to each other. Another thing that we want to have a look at is the auction overlap. So if you have multiple ad sets, you have an overlap between these ad sets if you have an overlap in audiences, right? So if you have a big audience here of 1 million people and you have another ad set with another 1 million people, but they have similar interest, chances are that they will overlap each other. And this is what you get shown here in the auction overlap tab. So how frequently this ad set was removed from the auction because it overlapped in the auction with another of your ad sets, which makes a lot of sense. And in this case, we here see the most overlapping ad set was this one here, the second most overlapping ad set was this one here, and the third most overlapping ad set in this case here at the bottom was this one. And this is very helpful because you want to see which are the ad sets that are overlapping, where can you improve, because obviously you don't want an ad set to overlap by like 30% or something, because then it kind of messes up your optimization, it messes up or at least it messes up your reporting, and you wonder why you're not spending enough and why things are not going as you want. When you dedicate a budget of like $100 per day to an ad set, you want it to spend fully and not just to spend like $70 or maybe spend the whole money but overlap a lot, so that people see so that the people in this original ad set see your ads more often. You want to keep auction overlap as low as possible, at least this is what I do. And this really helps you to decide whether you should create new ad sets, new campaigns, and whether your audiences are too similar. Because if you have a high overlap, I don't really like that. I want to test each audience individually. I only want to test each individual audience with multiple ads, right? So if you have one ad set, you want to test multiple ads in this ad set, but you don't want to basically test multiple ads for the same audience just overlapping in another ad set. You want to keep this very separated so that you know what's going on. Was a little confusing here. I hope that you really understood everything that I told you. It's a little confusing to really explain that in the best way possible right here. But audience overlap and in general delivery insights are just very powerful to understand when you should take action, when you should create new ad sets, new campaigns in general, and what the saturation of your campaigns looks like. So I hope that you got something of value out of this video today. Make sure that you check your delivery insights and that you have a look on, for example, whether you see this correlation between increased saturation and also increased cost per acquisition, because this is very common. And if you see this trend, prepare by creating new stuff and things like that. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you got something of value out of this video. If you did, please leave a like, please subscribe for more stuff like this, and I will hopefully see you in the next video, guys. Until then, all the best and bye bye.